Okay, so you've opened up the Racing Dossier software, and the first thing that we want to do is we want to import your race card. Okay, you can see the file for the race card is just below this video, so download the file from there. When you've downloaded it, go to the race card tab, and you can see that I've already got it in here. I'm just going to delete that so I can show you how to import it. So this is what you'll see. Press the import button down at the bottom of the screen, select the race card, press OK, and as you can see the race card is imported. Now if you click on that race card you can then go and edit it. Now you don't need to edit anything, all you want to do is to check the box here saying set as default race card, so there's a tick in it like that. That means that this will be your default race card, and whenever you open a race, this is the race card that is going to open by default. Okay, and then you just press the save button. If you want to add any more fields in, then there are some of the more regular information fields available to you, and you can see we got age and weight and fields like that. You won't have these IDs. These are the ratings in the full version of the software, but you'll have the more standard fields if you want to add them in. So you could add in weight or draw if you find that of use, and you can see the videos on how to do that in the support area where this video is. So just go and check out the other support videos. They'll give you some insight into how to use the software in other ways, and also what's inside the full version of the software. So when you've checked set as default race card, we press the save button, and you'll notice that the name goes bold. That means it's now set as your default race card. So there we go. If we go back across to races, and we open the first race, there we go, and we can see that we've got the horse name here and all of our fields. And that will happen with every race you open. If you want to export this information, then once again check out the export video in the support area. That will show you how to export the ratings into a CSV file so that you can open it up in a spreadsheet if you want to play with it like that. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the system to find winners. Right, so how do we go about using these ratings to find us winners? Well, I'm going to open the first race of the day, and here are our ratings. Now, course distance winner, so none of these runners are course distance winners. Class movement, this means that they are changing their class, they are dropping in class. And horse win percent, so the amount of races each horse has won. Now we can sort the columns by headers, so we start by looking at horse win percent. So My Boy Ginger is at the top, and then Lady Romanza and Sir Fredlot. But all of these horses have won races. There's none that's particularly bigger than the other. Sometimes we get a horse that's won a significant majority of the races over the others. So next we are just going to sort them by the rank. RNK stands for rank of the BEPFP, which is the best ever PFP. And now we can start to see a bit of a shape in this race. So we can see that Sir Fredlot is the top rated. Maccabees is second top rated, My Boy Ginger third top rated, and then Lady Romanza fourth top rated. Now there is actually quite a big gap here between the top rated and the second top rated, and this horse has won all of them. It's dropping in a class like the others, and so how are we going to bet in this race? Well, clearly Sir Fredlot is looking to be pretty strong. Let's take a look at the race. Okay, and there we go. Sir Fredlot is the current market favourite. So we would probably want to place a bet onto Sir Fredlot in this race. My Boy Ginger is the second favourite. Let's just take another look at that. Now, My Boy Ginger here is wins more than the others, but is ranked third. Although the difference between the second favourite, My Boy Ginger, and Maccabees here, the DIFTP stands for difference from top, so that tells us immediately that the difference from the top rating, Maccabees has 11, and My Boy Ginger has 15, so there's only a difference of 4 points between them. Okay, whereas between Sir Fredlot and the second top ranked, there's a difference of 11 points, which is obviously significantly bigger. Going back to the market, we can see Lady Romanza is the outsider, and Maccabees is it seems to have very high odds in comparison to how we expect this runner to perform. But we would stick with the market favourite in this particular race, and so we take the odds and we'll place a bet on. So if we're having a smallish bet, you may want to put a fiver, 50 quid, 100, whatever your stakes are. Obviously, you should be using the correct bankroll. I always suggest, unless you have a very high strike rate method, that you have a minimum of 100 units in your bankroll. So 100 units, if we were betting £50, would be £5,000 bankroll for the selections. And we then place our bets. Okay, and it's unmatched at the moment. I'm just going to mark it as take SP, but we've got a few minutes here before the race goes off. Are we likely to be matched on this? Well, the money's looking fairly balanced on either side at the moment, so there is a possibility that we'll get matched on this. They're shrinking down, and it may come out, it may not. We're not really fussed because we're going to take SP either way. Now we've got a few minutes until this race is off, so I'm going to pause this video and we will be back when the race goes off. Okay, and there you are. You can now see that our selection, Sir Fredlot, won that race, which is great news, and that gives us back a profit of £18.65. Okay, so the last race had quite low odds, so let's take a look at another one. We've got a few minutes until the 12:45, so let's open that race. And we start again by sorting by horse win percent, and we can see straight away that Alborz has won a higher percentage of races than the next best, which is Cosmina, and some of them are yet to win a race at all. And so the question I ask you here is, do you want to bet on a horse that has never yet won a race? Well, the chances are no. Now, I mean, this is a juvenile hurdle, and you'll sometimes not have ratings for runners, and that's probably because they haven't yet run a race. However, do we want to bet on a horse that has never won a race? As I say, it's unlikely. Okay, we see that there's a 3 in the CD winner column, which means that this horse is a course and distance winner. Okay, so already we know that Alborz is looking strong. It's won more of its races than any other runner. It's a course distance winner. And it's staying in the same class as used to. Okay, so let's sort by BEPFP. Now, if there's a horse with no rating, it will appear near the top. You can just ignore that runner. What we're interested in is a 1. So the top rated, the horse ranked number 1 is Alborz. We can also do this by sorting in the difference to BFP, difference from top BEPFP column. But I prefer the rank column. So our top rated horse here is Alborz with 1509, and it's won 14%. But there's only a difference of 2 between Alborz and King of Wing. And King of Wing's won 8%, which isn't as good as the 14, but it's still not bad. Cosmina Bay is then, there's a big drop there to Cosmina Bay, even though this horse has won 10%. So we're looking at this, and we're putting this information together, and we're saying, well, clearly the best horse here is looking to beat Alborz because he's a course and distance winner. He's top rated. He's won 14% of his races, which is more than the others. However, King of Win is only a few points behind, so it could be a potential threat. And then there's quite a big drop to the rest. So let's take a quick look at the market and see what the market is telling us. Okay, so Alborz is, again, we have another odds-on favourite here, but looking at our ratings, that's not particularly surprising. Then Rio de Sevilla and King of Win. Now, King of Wing seems to be quite high odds compared to Rio de Sevilla. Now let's have a quick look. Now you see, Rio de Sevilla, we haven't got a rating for, so this horse has probably never raced before. And if a horse has never raced before, we can't create a rating for it, okay? And in that situation, you should listen to the market, and what the market is saying is that this horse should be good. So we can't ignore that, okay? And then King of Wing, Cosmina Bay and Fuzzy Logic. And in fact, we are following the market with the ratings exactly this time. So how would we bet in this race? Well, if we were to bet in this race, we would probably take another win bet on our top rated, which is Alborz, as that looks to be the horse with the most potential in this race. So we'll place that on. And there's our bet matched. And if I refresh the screen, oh, I placed it to SP instead of market, didn't I? Apologies for that. So it will be placed to SP, and we'll come back and we'll have a look at the results of this race in a moment. Okay, and you can now see here that once again Alborz won the race. We made a profit of £34.12 to Betfair SP, which ended up being 1.692. Okay, we're a bit too close to the 115 now to look at that, so I'm going to look at the 130 instead. You'll notice that we're following exactly the same process. We're starting by looking at the horse's win percent, and this horse has won 33%, 25%. Okay, so they're both strong win rates. They're not changing in class. We have two here, No Butts and Walter Wagtail, who are both moving up in class. 2 class levels, which is quite a big jump. But let's go over and sort by rank. We also have 2 runners here we noticed straight away, Dunlowen and Speedy Tunes, who have probably never raced before. It is a novice's hurdle after all, and we're going to need to use the market to see whether they're of any value. Of the rest, we noticed that our 2 big percentage winners, 33 and 25% of their runs they've won, are first and second respectively in our rankings, which is a positive sign. And we notice there's not a huge difference between them. But Walter Wagtail, there's not a huge difference between Walter Wagtail and Uncle Jimmy either. Although obviously it's bigger between Walter Wagtail and Ace Fighter Pilot. And Walter Wagtail is rising 2 class levels. So it's got a bit of a further battle on his hands. But the bottom 2 are then below the 1500. This rating starts at 1500. So if the best ever rating they've achieved is lower than that, we've got a bit of a concern here. The 4th and the 5th are kind of pretty close to the same scores, and we're going to be focusing on the top 3, and we would expect the top 3 to be in the market unless one of these 2 runners, Dunlowen or Speedy Tunes, who we haven't got any information for, is expected to put in a good race. Okay, So let's go and take a look and see how we may want to bet this. So, okay, so looking at this, Speedy Tunes is a non-runner straight away, so that's fine. That clears that one out. Dunlowen is 12, so it is considered that it may put in a decent race. We noticed that our three, the ones we liked the most were the top three in the market, okay? And Flugzig and No Buts are the bottom two, and as we have them here. So Ace Fighter Pilot, Uncle Jimmy, and Water Wagtail. Ace Fighter Pilot being the best from a decent distance, not as big as we have seen, but you know there's a little bit of a gap there from Uncle Jimmy. But Uncle Jimmy has also won 25% of the races. Water Wagtail hasn't won a race yet, is moving up 2 class levels, so not as good, and came obviously that much further behind in the rating, 7 points behind Ace Fighter Pilot. So Ace Fighter Pilot and Uncle Jimmy are our favourite. We could now, how are we going to bet these? There's not much of a difference between these. Either of these could probably win this race. So how are we going to decide how to bet? Well, we could bet on them both. We could just bet Ace Fighter Pilot. We could split our stake across both selections or Dutch bet. We could look in the place market. Do we want to bet them to place instead? They're not the greatest odds. There's 2 to be placed, and we would expect these to be placed. However, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to split the stake across the 2 runners, like that. And if you do that, you see, if Ace Fighter Pilot wins, you're going to make a lot less than Uncle Jimmy, and that's why people Dutch, because if instead we put 35 on there and 15 on Uncle Jimmy, okay, my split wasn't very good then, I'm sorry. Normally to do it with a calculator. There we go, 30 and 20. Now we're Dutching because we're going to get a pretty much similar return. We can see 24, 25 pounds, whichever one of these horses wins. So let's Dutch our stake across those 2 runners. They're unmatched. I'm just going to change it to take SP in case they don't get matched. Okay. And they're unmatched. Notice that both of them have just dropped quite significantly. 3.85 to 3.5, 2.52 to 2.38. So we'll leave them sitting there in the market, and we'll come back in a moment and see what happened in this race. Okay, so we're just coming back here for the end of this race, and as you can see at the moment, Ace Fighter Pilot looks like is going to be Uncle Jimmy, and there we go. Ace Fighter Pilot has beaten Uncle Jimmy. If I refresh it here, we'll see that that's the race over. So that gives us another winner. And of course, you're not going to win every race by any stretch of the imagination, but you're going to win enough to make good profits. Okay, so that is how you can get started using Racing Dossier. This is a very effective system to analyze the races very quickly. As you see, we've been doing them in just a few minutes each, and you can do that in pretty much any race, any day of the week. I do suggest that if there are a lot of runners that haven't got any ratings because they haven't raced before, like the 2 at the top, so if there's a lot of runners in the race, it's making up the majority of the race, horses without a rating, then you don't look at that race. You skip on to the next one because we haven't got enough information to be able to make a good judgment. So thank you very much for watching this system, and I'll be back in another video later.